Good coffee, guys. Alright, okay, real talk. Base building is either going to become the coolest thing Star Citizen has ever done, or the thing that turns the PO into a slideshow if they ship it too early. And I know, base building has been announced, shown, hyped, and then it went kind of quiet. So today I want to do something different. No speculation, not trust me bro, but a technical reality check. What does CIG actually need under the hood to make base building work in a persistent universe? And what's a reasonable time frame for it? Because if you're imagining orc cities, shops, industrial bases, player trade hubs, that's not just a couple of prefabs and a placement tool. That's a server problem. Hey guys, Jack here with Space Games on YouTube. Today I want to talk to you about base building, one of my favorite Star Citizen features that doesn't exist yet. And I've had this question stuck in my head lately. Where are we actually at? Because honestly, it feels like we're hearing a lot about server meshing, instancing, crafting, all that stuff, but base building itself? Not much. We just had another tech talk with Benoit, and I love listening to that guy. Super smart, super direct, and it reminded me of something important. Base building isn't a feature. It's like 10 features wearing a trench coat pretending to be one feature. And if CIG gets it right, it changes the whole game. Why you log in, what you grind for, how orcs actually matter, and how the economy becomes player driven. But if they push it too early, congrats. We just invented a new type of 30k. Base disappeared. So in this video, I want to break it down into what CIG actually showed and promised, what tech has to be finished first, the scary MMO problems nobody likes to talk about, my realistic rollout prediction, MVP, functional bases, towns, and so on, what to watch for in patches that screams base building is getting close. And I want you guys to jump into the comments with your take, because I already know this is going to split the community. Do you want base building as soon as possible, even if it's limited? Or would you rather wait until it can support orc scale bases without breaking the shard? Alright, let's start with what CIG actually showed. First, CIG didn't just tease base building with concept art. At CitizenCon 2954, they basically showed a full loop that connects crafting, refining, materials quality, blueprint tiers, building tiers, power, maintenance, logistics, shops, defenses. That's why base building is tied to crafting so tightly. They showed things like construction drones, tools that print structures, foundation tech that can even deform terrain for big structures, extractors and refineries to pull resources and process them, freight elevator networks so storage can be shared across a base, permissions so org members can access or build player shops tied to base storage, and defenses in lawless space. Walls, shielding, automated turrets, the whole don't bomb my house starter pack. So the vision is huge. It's not just place a shed, it's build your own industrial network in a living MMO. Now, here's the important part. A lot of that gameplay is easy to demo in a controlled environment. The hard part is, can the PU support it at scale? When thousands of players do it at once. Which brings us to the real blocker. Base building lives and dies on two words. The first word, persistence. Your base can't vanish when you log out. The world has to remember where every placed object is, what state it's in, what storage it has, what it's powered by, damage states, rare states, permissions, ownership, and it has to remember it without keeping it all loaded at full simulation cost. That's why CIG talks about replication layer and persistent streaming. The idea that entity state can be persisted and streamed in and out efficiently. The second word, scalability. Even if persistent works, you still have the hotspot problem. If 200 people show up at a player city with ships, vehicles, cargo, turrets, NPC traffic, buyers, pirates, that area needs more compute than a quiet moon. That's why dynamic, quasi-dynamic meshing matters so much. The ability to scale server resources where players gather. So when people say, why is CIG talking about server meshing so much? This is why. Base building is basically the feature that weaponizes entity count. Now, let's talk about the stuff that makes MMO devs wake up in cold sweat. Yeah, and there's a lot of examples out there. First of all, land contention. Who gets to build where? What happens when a popular location gets filled up? How do you stop the whole planet from becoming Billboard City? CIG already hints at land claiming in lawful systems, taxes, and restrictions. No build zones like reserves and different risk-reward in Pyro type space. But the real question is, how aggressive are they willing to be with limits? Because limits are unfun. But infinite freedom is how you kill performance. Now here's the question. Would you accept build limits, claim size caps, if it means bases can exist everywhere without lag? Or offline raiding and griefing? If bases matter, people will attack them. If people can attack them, griefers will show up with spreadsheets. Most MMOs that have player structures solve this problem with things like vulnerability windows, reinforcement timers, multiple damage phases, protection in lawful space, or anti-offline mechanics. If Star Citizen doesn't do something like that, the meta becomes hit bases at 4 AM when nobody is online. And that's not a sandbox, that's a job. The third point, economy and duplication risk. The moment base building connects to crafting and player shops, it becomes a pipeline of value. That means exploits matter more. Duplication bugs become catastrophic, server recovery needs to be reliable, and persistence has to be consistent. So yeah, base building isn't content. It's infrastructure plus economy plus PvP rules. Here's my honest expectation if CIG plays it smart. Phase 1. Homestead MVP. Small bases, limited scope. Claim plus placement rules. Basic structures only. Basic power. Basic storage. Decorations. Make a home. This is the let players live somewhere version. Then I think comes phase 2. Functional bases. Now it becomes a loop. Freight elevator networks, org permissions, extractors, refineries, player shop basics, entry-level defenses. This is when bases start affecting the economy. And then, last but not least, phase number 3, civilization. This is the CitizenCon dream. Larger industrial hubs, ship-scale fabrication, towns with org mates, serious defenses, high-traffic areas becoming gameplay hotspots. This is also the phase that stresses the PU the hardest, because now bases aren't just persistent, they are popular. So, if you ask me when do we get base building in the PU, my answer is CIG will likely ship it in layers. Because shipping the full town simulation version first would be bold and probably explosive. If you want real base building is coming signals, then watch for these. Crafting, refining, landing in a stable way. Because base building is plugged into that pipeline. More talk and testing around dynamic, quasi-dynamic meshing. I think as soon as we see dynamic meshing, that's one of the signs that base building is around the corner. Because that's the scaling solution for hotspots. Other signals we need to look out for. Systems that look like rule frameworks. Stuff like permission improvements, org tools being more usable, inventory, logistics improvements, durable ownership and recovery behavior. And then more tools that reduce entity cost. Anything that suggests they can store more in the world without simulating everything at once is a huge green flag. So here's where I land. Base building is not a little feature. It's the thing that turns Star Citizen into a real living universe, if the foundation is strong enough. But I want to hear your take, because I know we all have different opinions here. So my first question to you guys is, would you rather have limited base building MVP soon, or wait longer for the full org scale vision? Second question, do you think offline raiding should be possible in Star Citizen? If yes, what kind of rules should protect people from pure grieving? And the last question, and be honest, where do you think base building lands first? Stanton, Pyro, or a new system designed around it? Nix, maybe? Drop your answers below. I'm going to read through them, and if the discussion is good, I'll do a follow-up video reacting to the best takes. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the verse. Bye-bye.